Here are the top stories for today, March 14, 2022. A presidential advisor says wage hikes must be studied carefully, citing its impact on small businesses and consumer prices as the surge in oil prices shows no signs of abating. President Rodrigo Duterte wants his successor to be compassionate and decisive. The chief executive has yet to publicly endorse a candidate less than 2 months before the polls. A magnitude 6.4 earthquake jolts Occidental Mindoro and was felt in other areas across the country. Authorities continue to assess damage from the tremor. And another big hole, this time in Mindanao. Law enforcers seized 27 million pesos worth of shabu in a buy-bust in Iligan City. Good day, I'm Marita Muaje. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Energy Assistant Director Rodela Romero appeals to oil companies to provide fuel discounts amid expected big-time oil price hike this week. She also clarified that even with a buffer stock of 30 to 40 days, oil price increases depend on the price in the world market.
Hindi naman po kasi tayo inventory pricing, Yusek. Ang tinatawag natin market pricing. Ibig sabihin, kung ano po yung pagkakapresyohan sa international, yun po ang ini-implement natin dito sa ating domestic pump price. Gayon din naman po kung sakali mang inventory pricing. Kung sakali man po na nabili nila ng mahal, ipapasa din po nila ng mahal. Gayong pababa naman kung halimbawa yung presyo sa international. So bali nababawi lang po. So mabuti na po yung market pricing, nakaka-adjust po tayo. At ngayon nga po patuloy ang ginagawa natin mga ayuda para maibsan talaga. Pero kung mahirap po kasi talaga kung inventory, then dire-diretso yung pataas ang kuha nila and then pababa na sa merkado, may stock pa rin, di pataas pa rin po yung pagbebenta nila noon.
Romero said the department is coordinating with several government agencies to cushion the effect of oil price hike.
Supply po tayo ng petroleum products. Yun po ang assurance na kinuha natin sa oil companies. Kasi mahirap naman po talaga na mawalan tayo ng supply dahil lahat po, karamihan ng mga economic activities natin, gumagamit po ng petroleum products. So sinigurado po natin na may supply tayo. Yung sa presyo po, yun nga po, gumagawa hindi lamang po ang Department of Energy, it's a full of government approach na maibsan ang bigat na dinadanas, lalo naman ng mga vulnerable sectors. Na-mention na po natin yung mga programa natin sa transport, yung programa po natin sa farmers and fisheries. So, wag na po siguro, pakiusap lang po na wag nang makaragdag. Siguro, naintindihan po namin na yung bigat, kaya nagagawa pa po natin na mag-rally yung ganon. Pero yun nga po, magtulungan po tayo. Sa panahon po ngayon, kailangan po ang pagtutulungan ng bawat isa.
The move to increase the minimum wage of private sector workers should be done carefully as this may also impact small businesses. Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion cited the need to balance the situation amid calls for wage hikes due to soaring prices of basic goods. Speaking at a Laging Handa briefing today, Concepcion said there may be other ways the government can aid affected workers. He adds a wage hike will impact small and medium enterprises. Among those are startup industries starting to pick up from the pandemic impact. Concepcion also floats the possibility that the prices of prime commodities may also stabilize once the conflict in Europe eases. He says the government and the private sector must work together to address the issue, citing that any implemented wage hike cannot be reversed immediately once the situation stabilizes. On Monday, the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines filed a petition seeking a 470 pesos increase in Metro Manila's minimum wage, citing the impact of soaring oil prices to the livelihood of workers. President Rodrigo Duterte vouched for the integrity and capability of the newly appointed COMELEC Chief Saidamen Balt Pagarungan. In an interview with SMNI, the President said Pagarungan is a good lawyer and has served many posts in government. He served as Secretary of the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, a former Governor of Lanao del Sur from 1988 to 1992, and a DILG Undersecretary under the Cory Aquino administration. Duterte said Pagarungan will be able to address issues sounding the COMELEC, including ballot printing, which was reportedly not opened to election observation groups. Although he admits that he has not heard of such violations, Duterte said the COMELEC could disregard the rule of opening ballot printing to election observation groups. He adds the PO body should always open ballot printing and operations to accredited election observation groups. PO watchdogs, including the National Citizens Movement for Free Election or NAMFREL, earlier criticized the COMELEC for not allowing them to see preparations for the polls. Section 15 of the Republic Act 9369 provides that watchers should be assigned by accredited political parties and deputized citizens' arms to observe the printing, storage, and distribution of official ballots. Section 187 of Batas Pambansa 881 or the Omnibus Election Code of the Philippines also provides for the presence of watchers. President Rodrigo Duterte has voiced out his preferred choice of candidate for the land's top elective post. In an interview, Duterte said he hopes that his successor is compassionate, decisive, and preferably a lawyer. He also wants a candidate who is competent enough to address several issues confronting the country, such as the dispute with the South China Sea. Duterte earlier backed the presidential bid of Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo, who later withdrew from the race and has not yet endorsed any presidential candidate since. While he cannot guarantee that the upcoming polls will be totally peaceful, Duterte maintains he would not allow any election-related violence. The government is on the lookout for an intelligence report about alleged groupings of some members of the opposition and communist rebels. President Rodrigo Duterte in an interview said he is on the lookout for a possible groupings of the communist terrorist organizations and the Yellow or Liberal Party following intelligence report. He said these groups could cause trouble during the elections. The Communist Party of the Philippines and the camp of presidential aspirant Leni Robredo earlier denied the insinuation. The innovations in the government media in the last 6 years have contributed to the high public approval of the Duterte administration. In a gathering with the Cebu media on Saturday, PCO Secretary Martin Andanar said the reforms and media strategies initiated in the PCO-attached agencies have greatly contributed to the high approval rating of President Rodrigo Duterte. Andanar said among these are the live pronouncements, activities, State of the Nation addresses, interviews, and other significant engagements of local officials, as well as news about the President's engagements. Andanar also mentioned that the changes and improvements in the PCOO in the last 5 years are products of consensus between the office and the partners in the media and the public. A magnitude 6.4 earthquake jolted the coast of Occidental Mindoro this morning. According to PHIVOLCS, the tectonic quake struck 110 kilometers northwest of Iligan City at 5:05 a.m. and had a depth of 28 kilometers. Intensity 3 was recorded in Quezon City, Taguig, Mandaluyong, and Makati, while Intensity 2 in Talisay, Batangas. Instrumental intensities were also felt in some areas in Metro Manila, Region 3, Calabarzon, and Mimaropa region. Meanwhile, Lubang Occidental Mindoro MDRRMO Chief Engineer Jeremy Villa said no initial damage on major structures were reported and all roads remain passable. Still to come, China's Sinovac vaccine gets the green light for pediatric vaccination in the country. And the Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program benefits returnees to Masbate. Details ahead, keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Nais mo bang bumalik at magsimula ng panibagong buhay sa inyong probinsya? May solusyon dyan. Bisitahin ang balikprobinsya.ph upang mag-apply. Pero ano nga ba ang Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program o mas kilala bilang BP2? Ang programang ito ay binuo ng gobyerno mula sa EO 114 na naglalayong matugunan ang lumulobong populasyon at pagsikip ng mga residential area sa NCR. Layunin rin ng BP2 na makapagbigay ng pantay na oportunidad sa mga Pilipinong magbabalik probinsya. Ligtas at libre kang makakabalik sa inyong probinsya sa tulong ng BP2. May kasama pang tulong pinansyal at oportunidad para makapagsimula ng pangkabuhayan. Bagong pag-asa ang hatid ng Balik Probinsya program. Kaya naman ano pang hinihintay mo? Mag-register na sa balikprobinsya.ph.
Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine gets a go signal for pediatric inoculation drive following the FDA's approval of its emergency use authorization. FDA Officer in Charge, Director General Dr. Oscar Gutierrez Jr. said Sinovac is among the safe choice for children and teenagers as it supports the notion of the safety and reliability of inactivated virus vaccines, much like the flu vaccine. He also said that Sinovac posted a 74% efficacy rate among the 1.9 million children aged 6 to 17 years old in Chile and has prevented hospitalization of 90% of children that had a breakthrough infection. Meanwhile, IP Biotech Group Chairman Enrique Gonzalez thanked the FDA and vaccine experts for approving Sinovac for ages 6 and above. Gonzalez said that making the Sinovac vaccines available to the younger age segment is a game changer in protecting the country's youth and will also ensure greater access and vaccine equity for the country. The other brands being used in the country for pediatric vaccination are Pfizer and Moderna. 9 families consisting of 37 beneficiaries are returning home to Masbate on Tuesday through the Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program or BP2. The BP2 Secretariat said that this is the third batch of this year's dispatch. The first batch for this year went home to Albay, while the second batch went to Camarines Sur, Camarines Norte, and Naga. The BP2 program still has scheduled dispatch to Zambales, Cotabato, General Santos City, Sarangani, Cotabato, and Sultan Kudarat for the month of March. The BP2 is a program of the national government aiming to decongest Metro Manila by encouraging dwellers, especially informal settlers, to return to their home province. The Philippine Army visited students in Aurora Province to teach them how not to be recruited by communist terrorist groups that have infiltrated schools. The 91st Infantry Battalion conducted a lecture at the Lyceum of the East Aurora on the propaganda and false ideologies of the CPP-NPA-NDF. Military Operations Officer Captain Candidato Paduman said the youth, especially those living in depressed and isolated areas, are vulnerable to the NPA's ideologies due to their innocence. He said cases of recruitment also happen in schools, which occurs if they can easily manipulate the youth. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Colonel Reandro Rubio, commander of the 91 IB, thanked the Lyceum for inviting them to conduct the seminar. Rubio said information drives and dialogue are vital to the implementation of the goals of the Provincial Task Force and local communist armed conflict. The Bayanihan Caravan was in Iligan City last week to provide government services and promote the Duterte administration's achievements and successes. Arafia Kiram has a story.
The Iligan City Police Station or ICPS-1 in partnership with other stakeholders spearheaded the Duterte Legacy Barangay Anihan Caravan towards national recovery in Barangay Pugaan. The caravan aims to showcase the success of the programs, projects, and accomplishments of the administration that brought better services to the people. ICPS-1 Officer in Charge Police Captain Neil Mark Sikipanes said that the caravan also aims to deliver government's basic services closer to the populace.
Ang Barangay Anihan, ma'am, is anchored sa ato ang Duterte Legacy, ma'am, no? Sayang 5 katuig ng pagpanarbaho sa ato ang presidente lugar na siya'y proyekto nga katong gitawag niya Tapang at Malasakit. So saan ang migawas ning Duterte Legacy atong Barangay Anihan. Kung asa ang nagkalain-lain nga mga stakeholders nato sa ato ang community inubanan sa ato ang PNP, no? Nag-gather na siya o nagbuhat og ani nga maong activity. Nga gipaabot ang maong mga serbisyo ngadto sa atong katawhan.
A total of 50 children benefited in the said caravan. ICPS-1 provided free haircut services and free circumcision. The City Health Office conducted deworming for children and gave medicines for circumcision. The Rotary Club of Uptown Iligan also gave snacks.
Dako ka siyang tabang sa amo ang isip ginikanan sa ilang gipahigayon karon nga libreng tuli alang sa mga kabataan ilabi na karon nga nasinatin natong ang pandemya nga nanghinaot mi nga nalipay kami og dako isip ginikanan nga naa kini karon nga libreng tuli, libreng dili lang kay libreng tuli, dapat jud siya libreng gupit og sa mga food packs nga ilang gipanghatag sa alang sa mga kabataan.
Food packs were also provided by the ICPS-1, City Station 1 Advisory Council, 18th Avenue Pharmacy, and Lower Decks Trading. Other partners that provided support during the caravan are Adventist Medical Center, Alpha Phi Omega Alumni Association, Tapok Iligan, and Noise Lechon Bell. For the PNA Newsroom, Arafia Kiram of PIA Iligan City and Lanao del Norte.
In our business news, the Land Bank of the Philippines has approved 101.1 billion pesos in loans for local government units that have been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. About 365 affected LGUs will make use of the loan to speed up the revival of their economies. Land Bank said it is extending loans to finance COVID-19 response and recovery intervention under its Rise Up LGUs lending program. Eligible projects under the program include the purchase of agricultural produce and equipment, construction of farm-to-market facilities, social welfare, healthcare, and other infrastructure activities. Land Bank is encouraging LGUs to enroll in the Rise Up LGUs program and take advantage of the interest subsidy. Up next, YouTube block Russia's state media channels as the conflict in Europe spills over to the digital sector. And Bukidnon's Kaamulan Festival is back after a 2-year hiatus. We're back after a quick break. Stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Palaban, walang kinatatakutan at may paninindigan. Ilan lamang yan sa mga ipinagbamalaki ng mga Pilipina. Ngunit hindi na bago ang katangiang yan sa ating kababaihan. Noon pa man, meron ng magigiting na babaeng handang tumindig para sa karapatan at kalayaan ng lahat.
Si Gabriela Silang na unang babaeng namuno ng revolusyon. Si Teresa Magbanua na lumaban noong panahon ng Espanyol at pinangunahan ang mga sharpshooter. At si Carmen Rosales na tinuloy ang laban ng kanyang asawa laban sa mga Hapon at sumali sa hukbalahap.
Bagamat ehemplo ang mga ito ng progresibong pag-iisip ukol sa kababaihan, lagana pa rin ang stereotypes, diskriminasyon at pang-aabuso.
Kaya naman ngayong National Women's Month, sama-sama nating ilunsad ang agenda ng kababaihan tungo sa kaunlaran. Patuloy nating isulong ang gender equality at women empowerment dahil hindi pa tapos ang tungkulin ng babae sa paggawa ng kasaysayan.
A female overseas Filipino worker who suffered abuse while working in the Middle East has been brought back home in Samal, Bataan. Marilu Santos, who started working in Saudi Arabia in October 2021, said she was made to work in different places contrary to what was stated in her contract. She said she was also maltreated and nearly sexually molested by different employers. She was able to return home last February with the government's help. Party List Group Alliance for Community Transformation and Service, or ACTS OFW, promised to help Santos gain permanent livelihood. Local businessman Alex Acuzar, who also helped in the repatriation of Santos, said he hoped that Samal will have a training center and cooperative of its own to help residents build up their own livelihood and skills. In news overseas, social media giants YouTube and Instagram will have their services blocked in Russia amid the ongoing Ukraine crisis. In a tweet, YouTube said it will block channels affiliated with Russia-backed media outlets worldwide. More than 1,000 channels and at least 15,000 videos violating YouTube's guidelines were already removed thus far. Even ads were paused to cease monetization functions. Likewise, Instagram will be inaccessible for Russian users starting today. This comes after the Russian Federal Service for Supervision of Communications, Information Technology and Mass Media ordered the restrictions. The media watchdog said it aims to shut the spread of hate speech against Russians, particularly against military personnel. Instagram head Adam Mosseri protested the decision, saying 80 million users in Russia will be affected. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency seized around 27 million pesos worth of suspected illegal drugs in a buy-bust operation in Iligan City. Authorities nabbed a suspect identified as Arnel Asuncion after 2 months of surveillance. PDEA Region 10 Director Jiger Montellana said Asuncion is allegedly linked to a bigger organization operating in Mindanao. PDEA confiscated from the suspect 5 plastic wrappers containing an undetermined illegal substance. Asuncion may face charges for violation of the Republic Act 9165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. The renowned Kaamulan Festival in Bukidnon is set to resume on March 23 to April 23 after a 2-year halt due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Provincial Tourism Officer Butch Anthony Melendez said this year's month-long celebration will proactively adhere to public health protocols. But the awaited street dancing, parades, motocross, booth exhibits, and horseback riding competition are still not on the list of the allowed activities. Yet, ethical rituals are expected to be featured from March 16 to 18. Melendez also urged the public to observe health measures amid the COVID-19 threat, while Bukidnon remains under alert level 2. Kaamulan is the only annual festival joined by 7 tribes to celebrate diversity, culture, pride, and unity. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. A presidential advisor says wage hikes must be studied carefully, citing its impact on small businesses and consumer prices as the surge in oil prices shows no signs of abating. President Rodrigo Duterte wants his successor to be compassionate and decisive. The chief executive has yet to publicly endorse a candidate less than 2 months before the polls. A magnitude 6.4 earthquake jolts Occidental Mindoro and was felt in other areas across the country. Authorities continue to assess damage from the tremor. And another big hole, this time in Mindanao. Law enforcers seized 27 million pesos worth of shabu in a buy-bust in Iligan City. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear face masks and face shields. Wash your hands often. Practice safe physical distancing. Go out only for essential reasons. And get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, you may watch us on television on PDE4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I'm Marita Muaje. Stay safe and have a good day.